I increased my productivity 10 times by turning my life into a game. Do you ever ponder the question of why some people can't seem to stop playing video games? Exactly what was it about those games that made them so interesting? Is it possible to take the enticing aspects of the game and use them to improve other facets of your life? Dopamine is a neurotransmitter linked with reward and pleasure, and video games are often designed to trigger its release in the player's brain on a continual basis. It's one of the factors that keeps us coming back to the same activities over and over again when we are motivated to do so. Dopamine might be thought of as the carrot at the end of the stick. Basically, we'll go wherever the carrot is dangled. And video games are really good at constantly dangling this carrot right in front of you. Especially RPGs, also known as role-playing games, where you level up and play a fictional character in a virtual world. The dopamine trail in these games makes them very addictive, and it stimulates the reward system by releasing dopamine. Because of this, we are able to keep our interest in the game and avoid being bored. Now, I've identified 5 key elements that form this dopamine trail, which you can actually replicate in your own life by using RPGs, meaning role-playing games, as an example. So, let's take a look at those elements. Let's see how you can take control of the carrot and make your own daily activities more compelling. Number 1. The first key element. You have a crystal clear end goal in mind, and you know exactly what you should be doing. Perhaps you need to save the queen, or you must vanquish the witch. Know where you need to go. That's crucial. However, in reality, many of us don't have a clear idea of our ultimate goals. And although it's true that we may take cues from others around us, it's not quite the same as when we set the path ourselves. Whether it's reading a book, getting a promotion, or learning instruments, having a destination in mind gives your daily activities meaning. Otherwise, your work will be pointless. While saving the queen may be the ultimate objective, the game doesn't put too much emphasis on that. Instead, it's separated into a series of smaller milestones that all work toward the same end. It's possible that your first task will be to help a villager recover his stolen jewels. Then, you retrieve an ancient scroll, and etc. In spite of how little or routine the task may have been, it is always satisfying to see its completion. And the more we feel accomplished, the more we want to continue feeling that way. Essentially, this creates a loop where a tiny bit of success rewards us with dopamine and motivation to continue, which results in more success. If you want to compose a song, for example, your sub-goals might look something like this: creating inspiration, writing the lyrics, generating a melody, mastering the chords. Of course, all of these can be broken down even further. The point is to kickstart the achievement loop and do something that will lead you towards the greater objective. Number 2. Now, goals are also important because of the second key element, which is that progress is visible. When playing video games, it's easy to see how far you've come because of the experience bar. However, it never says you're 1% on your way to level 100. That would be demotivating. Instead, it shows that you're now in level 2. This observable development provides the inspiration to keep plugging away until your next goal is reached. Just getting to the next level before signing out is an easy excuse to keep playing for a while longer. But in the actual world, advancement is rarely that blatant. You have to actively create the appearance of it. Keeping a log of your everyday activities is the most effective method of doing so. Make a habit of recording in some way, every day, the steps you do that get you closer to your objectives. If you woke up at 5 a.m. to exercise, write it down. If you hit the gym, write it down. If you studied for 3 hours, write it down. And if you earned $5 by investing, write it down. In this way, you can see whether or not you are making progress towards your goals and sub-goals. And you may adjust your course and action accordingly. As you get closer to achieving one of them, you'll be more inspired to keep going. Number 3. Now, knowing that you're progressing is very important because of the third key element, which is that games reward you for your effort. When you accomplish a level or a mission, you usually get a reward. Such incentives will help you stay motivated to finish the work at hand. Would you free the enslaved queen in the hands of the witch if you didn't get anything for it? Probably not. But because there's a prize, you keep completing those quests. The anticipation of a reward causes the brain to flood the body with a feel-good chemical dopamine, making rewards a powerful motivator in the real world as well. In the back of your mind, you are aware that if you complete a work, such as studying, you will be able to enjoy a reward of your choosing without feeling guilty, which might easily motivate you to do it. But it has to be noted that in video games, the reward always rewards you back in some way. Once you defeat an enemy, you might get a more powerful staff, which means you can now defeat stronger enemies. Essentially, the reward you receive improves the gameplay and encourages you to continue playing. And this is an error that many of us make. When we have a balanced diet for 1 week straight, and we go to the gym 5 times during that period, sure, we deserve a reward. But instead of a reward that doubles as a reward, we typically choose a punishment that undoes our hard work. As a treat, we sit on the couch and indulge in a gallon of ice cream, which, when you give it some thought, is a bad plan. Envision finishing a task only to have your character's level and attributes reduced instead than increased. This never occurs. But that's exactly what we do in real life. We manage to save $400. What do? We squander it on useless gratifications. Instead, we should put that money into an asset that will eventually pay off for us. With it, we may expect to earn and save more money in the future. So think about your own life situation and find a reward that rewards you back. Or at least make sure it doesn't sabotage your progress like it usually does. But you might notice that the rewards in games aren't always the same. You don't always get a better staff, but instead, you sometimes get an apprentice or a new skill. Which brings us to the fourth key game element, number 4, variety and novelty. The best games surprise us with fresh content regularly. It may be access to a brand new territory, or even just a slick new skin. Our minds thrive on novelty, so as long as an experience keeps surprising us in some way, it'll continue to be enjoyable. Just picture having to play the same level over and over again, instead of getting to explore new areas of the game. None of us would likely enjoy it. Also, this is how things are in our regular lives. Adding an element of novelty to an activity increases the likelihood that we will continue doing it over the long run. If you have a job, think back to the first day you spent there. The job probably didn't feel boring. Instead, it was most likely interesting. There were so many new people to meet and a lot of things to learn. After a year, though, the excitement would have worn off and the routine would have set in. Reason being, after a while, it got regular, and there was nothing exciting left to do. Spending 8 hours a day, 5 days a week on the same task is a lot like playing the same video game level over and over again. Since you already know what to expect, there isn't much to look forward to. What could you do? Making friends with someone you wouldn't ordinarily talk to at work or desk reshuffle might help. You might simply try a new place to eat lunch one day. It's clear that the shift need not be dramatic. The goal here is just to try something different once in a while. Just look for a way to make your days slightly different. Number 5. Now, the fifth and final key element that games have is that they consistently challenge you. Humans have a natural fascination with problem solving and achieving success. However, you won't appreciate them or desire to perform them if they are too difficult or too easy for you. Thus, the test should be neither too simple nor too difficult. When you start at level 1, you don't go fighting the biggest and the worst boss right away. You would get defeated every time, as it would be too difficult for your skill level. And because it would be too hard, you wouldn't want to keep playing. That's why games typically start you out with less difficult tasks, those you can truly go through. But as your skills improve, so does the game's challenge. Otherwise, you don't want to keep playing if you were to progress yet face the same difficulty. There's no point in playing if you can easily destroy any obstacles in your path. The task needs to be just hard enough so that the sense of accomplishment and the subsequent surge of dopamine are worth the effort. However, ideal problems are extremely rare in the actual world. Instead, we are typically either completely overwhelmed or completely bored by them. If you're having trouble bringing yourself to accomplish anything because of how difficult it seems, it probably is beyond your present ability level. In the beginning, you need to pause and take things slowly. Break that enormous work down into smaller, manageable bits. Then you should separate the task into its constituent parts and start with the simplest one. This not only makes things easier, but also sets the momentum rolling. If something feels too easy, you must increase the challenge. Ideally, you would want to skip the easy tasks, but sometimes they just have to get done. Try increasing their difficulty by setting a time limit on them. This forces you to find a way to be more efficient, which also helps you get through it faster in the future. Yes, you're still doing the same boring activity, but the time pressure ramps up the difficulty and makes it more fun. So try to match difficulty to your skill level. You will find that wherever you're able to do so, you will be more engaged and the activity will be more compelling. You now have a much better grasp of what makes video games so compelling to so many people. You may also observe that the game's ability to captivate us is diminished if these features are absent. Other elements may also contribute to a game's appeal, like the social aspect that provides a sense of community and competition. Another one might be the cool background music. It's also important to observe how quickly these components are utilized in video games, inducing a flood of dopamine into the system. They occur so often that our daily activities aren't actually able to match it. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't replicate the dopamine trail. It's crucial that you put it into practice, or you'll be drawn to the source of dopamine. Put those 5 factors: crystal clear end goal, visible progress, reward for your effort, variety and novelty, consistent challenge, to use in the spheres of your life that mean the most to you. By doing so, you may harness the power of controlling the carrot and achieving your goals. If you made it this far into the video, let me just say that you're awesome and you are serious about changing your life. So keep in touch by hitting the subscribe button so you'll see us next when we release our next videos. Thanks for liking and sharing this video, and see you next time. Bye!